Hi everybody, here I am, Dr. Kien Vu in Seattle, and I was fortunate to meet my new coach and sarcoma survivor, Scott Murray. Scott Murray, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Hello everyone.
So why don't you tell everybody how we met?
We met through Landmark Education. We were both in the Self-Expression and Leadership program. I'm actually the head coach of the Seattle program, and Keen came up for his third work day and was a kind of bright spot in the room. Also stood out in the room pretty quickly. Very vibrant individual. So thank you for actually coming up and being part of the community.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, we've got two cameras going. We've got both a YouTube camera. We're going live on Facebook. And if any of you happen to have questions that you'd like to throw out there for Scott, feel free to type that in. We can ask him here live. So Scott, tell us about your cancer journey.
Wow. Started really in 2012. Was diagnosed with a very rare form of sarcoma called clear cell chondrosarcoma in my right arm, of all places. Had a tumor about the size of my fist. It was very, very painful. And what I was resisting was going to the doctor. I had pain in my arm for over a year. Had weird things like my fingers would go numb, or my hand would stop working, or my arm would stop working. And I thought it was a torn ligament in my right arm. Turns out it was a tumor. So June 1st of 2013, I went in and was diagnosed with a tumor, and then they sent me to Seattle Cancer Care Alliance, and I went through surgery, radiation, and about 2 years of recovery. And as you know, cancer is a 5-year journey. You've got monitoring for the first 2 years is every 3 months, and then after that it's every 6 months. So I got to the 2-year mark, and there was a small spot in my left hip, my left pelvic bone. Fast forward to January of 2016, and that is now about the size of a golf ball. And I knew something was up. I'd been through it before, pain in my arm, and now it's pain in my hip. And by the time I was diagnosed this time, I was really struggling to walk, struggling to just get out of bed because it was so painful. And I knew what was going on. So I went to my doctor, and we went through about 4.5, 5 months of planning and scans and radiation. And I reached a point in radiation where I just couldn't do anymore. My body just wouldn't do anymore. I was having all kinds of side effects and all kinds of issues. And took a vacation, was going to do hip replacement surgery, and they were going to remove that tumor. Pre-surgery scan, May 29th, they find tumors everywhere in my body. In my lungs, in my back, in my neck, in my hips. Both legs. Had about 27, 28 soft tissue tumors, as well as 8 to 9 bone tumors that they could see. They were sure there was more. So my doctor at that point, he switched his view, and he switched his diagnosis. You're now chronic. And so he brings in a room full of oncologists. There's probably, 8 or 9 of them in the room. And we were going to discuss immunotherapy. Chemotherapy, radiation are completely ineffective. Radiation is great for one tumor, but chemotherapy on this type of cancer, completely ineffective. And they've been telling me that for 3 years. So his response was, let's see if we can slow it down. Room full of oncologists. Hour conversation, and I finally get to the point where I confronted them all and said, so really what you're saying, or what you're not saying, is you got nothing for me. You got absolutely nothing. And they looked at me in shock and went, yeah, pretty much. We don't know what to do with you. Typically when the disease reaches this point, slowing it down is the best we can do. And I went, well, that's not going to work. So my journey had started really transforming my life prior to that. So at the end of May, I went, okay, great. The medical community's got nothing for me. The path they laid out was, in 3 months, you'll be unable to walk. In 6 months, you're going to be in hospice, and maybe 7, 8 months, you're going to be dead. That's the path I can lay out for you. That doesn't work. So I started my own journey of healing and really looking at my life as a whole. Why isn't I dealing with cancer? So I looked at how I was living, what I was living, what I was eating, what I was drinking, everything. I went immediately in January when I was diagnosed, I went to a raw food diet. but I was still drinking alcohol. And as I continued through my scans all the way through May, more and more stuff showed up. And so I just kept cutting things out of my diet, cutting things out of my way of living, focused on bringing impeccability to my life, which is, for many of you, if you don't know what that is, impeccability is you bring integrity to your life. You live inside of a realm of integrity where if it doesn't work, it doesn't stay in your life. And if it isn't an empowering context, you get rid of it. Started down that road. And that took me a number of months. I started a relationship, and that in itself opened the door for me to see my life and how I was living my life outside of community and outside of empowerment. So I immediately transformed all of that, and we can get into that in more detail in another interview. But really, here's the gist of it. I changed my water, I changed my food, I eliminated all sugar, and I really started looking at, from a diet perspective, what was causing the cancer to grow. Because my number one priority was I got to stop the growth of this cancer. And through my doctor, who's a surgeon, hooked me up with his foundation, and the individual in his foundation connected me with another sarcoma survivor. This young woman, Kayla, had been dealing with 21 soft tissue tumors for 10 years. She was diagnosed at the age of 21, and they told her at that time you got 3 months. Fast forward 11 years, she's now 32, and connecting with me and giving me everything I need to consider, not do, but consider, to slow it down. And she was still struggling with it, but she had kept it at bay for 10 years. So I changed my diet, eliminated anything that exasperated the tumors, anything.
Now, what did your doctors, were they supportive of this sort of alternate way of living at that time?
Some were, some weren't. My doctor, who's a surgeon, was very supportive. Anything you could do, go do it. So I did that. The oncologists, some were, some weren't. I mean, doctors, and you know this, only know what you know. You don't study the broad spectrum of nutrition and natural healing because it's seen as ineffective.
We don't learn this in medical school. In fact, what we do learn in medical school are ways certain treatment works. We know very little about nutrition, and that's something we have to go beyond to get. So that's something to keep in mind when you're speaking with your physicians.
Yeah, Bill, well said. Nutrition was the biggest factor for me, but also water. Water, there's a lot of chemicals in our water that really irritate and actually exasperate cancer to the point to where it continues to seek places to go in the body. Now, I won't get into the specifics of cancer because I'm sure there's probably 15 different episodes we can do on that.
Yeah.
But what I really learned is there is a recipe, and so as of today, I have 3 tumors left. I've managed to eradicate the others, and it was a journey. I mean, it's taken me about a year to get here, and it was a journey of not only self-discovery, but a journey of what's available, what things work, what things don't work with this type of cancer.
Now, were there any traditional therapies that were going on as these tumors were shrinking, or you were just using these alternative therapies?
At the end of May, so the radiation had shrunk the big tumor a little bit, enough so that a lot of the major pain areas had gone away, but it really didn't do much beyond that. And if you know anything about radiation, it does that for a short period of time, and then it comes back. But a lot of that has to do with your diet. If you're continuing to consume, processed foods and sugars, and drinking sodas and drinking alcohol, your tumor's going to explode. Just the way it works. Cancer cells feed on sugar. I don't care what anybody tells you. There's enough evidence on the internet and around the world to prove that. And I don't need to argue that. That's just what's so.
But so many people go into a state of depression where they tend to overeat or they're drinking, and people don't have the access to this information as to how food affects your cancer.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So the first thing I had to do, the first thing I had to get my head around was being empowered to deal with the disease. And that's the work I'm doing now. Really looking at, okay, what was it that allowed me to be successful? What was it that allowed me to push forward in the spite of this terminal diagnosis. And it was really that the work we've done at Landmark, but also the concept of I am in charge of my own health. And I have to take responsibility for my own health. Nobody else is going to do it. That took me months to get my head around. I mean, it wasn't a simple, okay, I'm right here and I'm just going to do that. It doesn't work that way. You really have to take on, okay, I am in charge of making sure my health improves and my outcome improves, and what do I need to do that?
So many people don't feel like, they feel like life is handed to them. Don't feel like they can be the author of many things in life, particularly their diseases. But you came up with something, and I know you just had a meeting with a very large foundation. You have a very special project. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, the foundation is a grassroots foundation, and I presented to their board on Saturday morning. I have a series of projects that I'm working on. One is an application for cancer patients. Another is a patient-driven medical study based on what I've been doing to cure myself, and putting together a system of empowerment so that sarcoma patients, in this case specifically, have the tools that they need so they can get curated information, so that they can get relative information around diet, and they can really get a sense of community and a place to draw strength from, but more importantly, a safe place to go where they can get relevant information on what they're dealing with and how to deal with it powerfully. That is the core of what I'm working on right now.
That is so powerful, empowering patients to take some control of something that they feel they have a lack of power and control. Yeah. I think it's so powerful. So when I first attended class yesterday, I met all these people, was telling them about the Live Again project, and they immediately said, you need to talk to Scott Murray. And it's so funny, the Saturday, the only reason I'm here in Seattle was I couldn't make a class last Saturday because, as some of you know who's been following our feeds here, I went to the celebration of life for my dear good friend and patient Mark Moore. So I had to miss that, but I knew that in going to both places, both the celebration and here in Seattle, it's going to bring, there's something special in the air. Something big is about to happen. Then I met Scott. And I don't even know what this partnership will be or look like, but we were just talking right before the show of the possibilities it can be. What do you think some of those possibilities are?
You know, I was struck immediately by the power of who you are as a doctor. You're looking at, so there's a view. I have a view as a patient, it's unique. Doctors have a view. And between that is this gap. It's a gap of information and collaboration that allows both the patient and the doctor to be empowered. And that's the space that you get to fill. You have the understanding and the perspective of the clinical side of it. And then you have the understanding of your patients go through this treatment. And now you get to get connected with them in a way that no other doctor could have. You get to really see what is their journey from a day-to-day perspective. And particularly in this case, for those people who are terminal, you get to help the families transition from that and that whole spectrum, because it's a long journey for them. They're tired at the end.
Yeah.
And the patient's tired. You get to help them find the one thing I think most families don't get, and that's closure. And to be able to celebrate the journey that they're going through.
Goosebumps again. I've been getting so many goosebumps, as you guys know, and didn't even know what some of the project would really bring forth. But like you were saying, this Live Again Fund with Mark Moore, they're really tying together. They're really celebrating his life and saying how they're going to remember him best and how to best bring closure and celebration to his life. That's something that's pretty exciting. And I don't know how the Live Again project is going to shift over time, but I think it's something special, and I'm really glad that we met Scott and what he's going to bring to the project in the future.
Yep, and I'll have my own website here very soon. One thing I want to leave you with, though, that we had talked about this earlier, so I'll leave it with the audience. If you view your life, at the end of your life, as an expression. If your life is fulfilled, what would that expression be for the rest of the world? That's the opportunity that you get to provide.
Yeah.
You get to help them discover that and then actually create that, which I think is very cool. It's an amazing journey. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Again, this is Dr. Kien Vu. You're watching a little episode and interview here at the Live Again Project page. Visit us at www.liveagainproject.org. We have our launch event March 1st in Los Angeles. Any questions? Go ahead and email mystory@liveagainproject.org. Bye now.